This world has many big names, but when heard out loud, they're immediately noticed. Names like Trump, Depp, McGregor are super famous. I'll tell you about something that actually happened in my school not too long ago. My name is Lucas, and I go to school with Vladimir Putin's granddaughter. Yes, you heard that right. Have I got your attention? Make yourself comfortable. This is gonna be good. So, I go to a pretty normal school in a suburb of Italy. Our school is different from others because of its focus on culture and how far away it is from the city. My classmates' free time is mainly occupied by chess, reading, and painting. As you can tell, our school focuses mainly on humanity-based subjects. Our teachers say that the best thing money can't buy is spiritual wealth, whatever that means. But that's the reason we have a bunch of different classes. I actually really love reading. In my home library, I have a huge collection of weird and interesting books that I find from all over the world. My library is my pride and joy. I have the rarest copies, limited editions, and original works without the translations. You gotta admit, it's pretty cool. Actually, one of the books plays a major role in the story. It was a sunny day at recess when I was reading a book on the grass. The next class is in a whole hour, and I can read plenty of my book and finish drinking my coffee. A large white car stopped in front of our school gates. I'd never seen such an expensive car outside the school before. It immediately caught my attention. Who could it be? A driver in a black suit stepped out of the car and opened the passenger door. A cute girl stepped out in a snow-white shirt with red and black overalls. She hopefully smiled, admiring our school's building, and started heading towards the main entrance. Accompanying her was a large man with a serious expression. He looked like a character from an action film. They entered the school, while I returned to reading my book. When the bell rang, I quickly went back to class, and to my surprise, I saw the girl from the car standing next to the teacher. I guess she's new. And can admit, I was a little taken back because, judging by the car, her clothes, and her huge dude with her, she was definitely not from an ordinary family. I thought to myself, well, she's probably really snobby and won't be friendly. I said hi to my teacher and sat down on my seat. Miss Collins, a really nice teacher, introduced us to the new girl and that her name was Alexandra and that she came from Russia. Wow, Russia, such a mysterious country. I'd only heard and seen it in movies. They also say that it's very cold there. Would be cool to visit one day. Alexandra introduced herself to the class and sat in the seat right in front of me. My classmates all started glancing at her because everyone wanted to know what the new girl was like. She diligently took out her textbooks and began to pay close attention to the teacher. Her blonde hair was styled into a ponytail, school uniform perfectly ironed, wearing an expensive designer backpack and shiny brand shoes. All this made her stand out. I immediately could tell this girl was from a lavish background. It has been a week since the new girl arrived. Every day, Alexandra was dropped off at school accompanied by her bodyguard, who waited for her after class. She always said hello to everyone, but never actually introduced herself, or really talked to anyone. At one point, I headed home after finishing school, and held one of the books from the collection of mine. A book the English literature teacher kindly gave me. I was really looking forward to reading this one, because I had already finished the previous two and I wanted to see the ending. As I walked home, I was about to walk through a group of guys who were laughing hysterically, acting like the neighborhood belonged to them, pushing and shouting and laughing at the top of their lungs. One of them nudged me on purpose, turned around and threateningly asked what my problem was. I got that I was being provoked to a fight, so I tried to ignore it and just kept on walking. But the same guy blocked my path and pushed me. I wasn't expecting it and lost my balance and fell. They all started laughing, and one of them picked up my book and started to rip the pages out. I shouted and begged them not to damage it, and that I tell the teacher. And as soon as I got up and tried to take my book back, someone from behind grabbed the guy who threatened me and threw him to the side. I couldn't believe my eyes when the person standing in front of me was the new girl, Alexandra. She stormed towards the group of guys, seeing how she dealt with her friend, and they scattered away. Alexandra giggled to herself and asked if I was okay. To be honest, I just felt kind of weird about the whole situation, especially since a girl just stood up for me and I was the victim. I thanked her, but noticed that unfortunately my book was ruined and that there wasn't another copy like it. Alexandra assured me that anything can be found again if you set your mind to it. She said that it's not the book itself, but the message that counts. We finally officially met, and after buying ice cream, sat together and talked on the bench. It was kind of weird that her bodyguard wasn't there, the same way the driver or car wasn't. As she was eating her ice cream, Alexandra admitted that she had always practiced self-defense. Apparently her grandfather says that one must know how to defend oneself in the event of a confrontation. Alexandra squinted at the sun, smiled, and commented on how great of a day it was. A day where she could allow herself to feel like a normal schoolgirl, without a bodyguard, driver, and constant control. I asked why she was constantly guarded. She smirked and answered that her family, particularly her grandfather, holds a very important position in office, but she can't reveal who he is. She said that she came to our low-profile school so that no one knew where she was, and so she wouldn't get the paparazzi invading her privacy. Alexandra sighed and said that she's tired of the constant surveillance, and she can't even take a normal walk outside. "You're lucky. You're free. You can do whatever you want. You live how you please," she said with a sad smile. As Alexandra was leaving, she told me the next quarter she'd have to leave to another town. But how? She just got here, I thought to myself. I didn't want to bother her with these questions. For the remaining days of the month, Alexandra and I hung out, went to museums, read books, and just talked. It was the first time I was someone who knew so much about stuff. You could talk to her about literally anything. Sports, music, science, history. After finishing the final exam, which concluded the quarter, I got a package in the mail. There was a letter inside with a parcel. Opening the letter, I read that Alexandra was very happy about our friendship, and as a token to remember her by, got me a present. Turns out, she has to relocate sooner than planned, because the paparazzi found out where she was and where she went to school. I proceeded to open the parcel and was shocked to see inside was a book, the same book that those guys had ruined. But how? How did Alexandra find it? I had so many questions but no answers. I gratefully placed the gift in my library and in thought thanked the fascinating girl from Russia. A few days had passed, and out of the blue, I stumbled on an online article about Russia's President Putin visiting China. Next to him was Alexandra's bodyguard and her driver. The article said that Putin came with his family, but they were hidden from sight. Oh my God! I couldn't believe that Alexandra was the granddaughter of the president of Russia. The pieces of the puzzle finally came together. A high office grandfather, the paparazzi, constant relocation, personal guards. I smiled to myself and started writing a letter to Alexandra. To the far and wondrous land of China. How crazy! Putin's granddaughter is my friend. If you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. Hello everyone, my name is Alex and I go to a regular high school in a small town. In our school, everything is usually dull and nothing ever happens. But what happened when the new principal came is just wild, and it's definitely worth your attention. I myself was a participant in those events and I remember everything as if it were yesterday. So let's get back 1 year. It was September 1st. The new school year began, and we were surprised to learn that our principal, Mr. Skyner, had retired. And instead of him, a new principal was appointed. He was young and very handsome. All the girls immediately went crazy over him, daydreaming about that handsome man. But he was unapproachable and looked at everyone with great interest. The year began as usual. Classes, teachers, homework, well, in a word, boring. But the new principal was very strange. Always had red eyes and was often on his phone, sometimes even during class time. He would give assignments to students and then go on his phone as if he was playing some game. He became the most mysterious figure at our school and everyone really wanted to look into his phone and find out what he was doing, but he never let anyone go near it and never left it anywhere. Everyone was betting on what was on there. A game, romantic texts, a secret conspiracy. People even began to take bets with real money, which would go to whoever could get onto his phone. After some time, all other teachers began to be on their phones more. They simply did not pay attention to us. All our classes and learning came down to independent student work. I didn't understand anything. Maybe there was a secret conspiracy among the teachers and they were up to something. We did enjoy that class format.
No one annoyed us with homework. We could sit quietly and do whatever we wanted, and we did have things to do. My friends and I were constantly playing Among Us, and looking for imposters was cooler than learning algebra. So a month had passed that way, and then everything changed. One day, it felt like all the teachers somehow had their internet turned off. They stopped being in their phones, but now they were acting weird. They were constantly on the lookout and walked around the school in groups and always turned around. Something wild was going on. One day, the chemistry classroom caught fire. It didn't seem surprising. Something always happened there because not all the students learn chemistry, and then there are accidents because of that. But that day, there were no classes in there. Only a chemistry teacher was present. There was a lot of smoke, and he was taken to the hospital. The next day, someone poured a bucket of red paint on the geography teacher during a break. She screamed for a long time, thinking it was blood. The spectacle was wild, but fun at the same time. We all waited for the drama to begin and for them to look for the trickster, but there was a complete silence. Everyone at the school discussed this, but no one knew who did it. And then, during a literature class, the teacher slammed the door so hard all the portraits of the writers fell from the wall at the same time. She jumped abruptly and then burst into tears and ran away from class. She always slammed the door very loudly, and it infuriated everyone, but kind of stuff never happened. We began to think that it was a secret avenger had appeared in the school who was jamming the teachers. So we began to think who it could be, and everyone's goal was now to find them. Being at school had turned into a spy quest. Everyone watched each other. Most importantly, none of the students was called up to the principal, and even the most notorious hooligans said that it was not their work. Everything became much more interesting. We waited for something else to happen, and then during a biology class, a skeleton walked. It really just started moving and dancing. It was so cool. The teacher, however, felt bad, and she was taken to the hospital. For some reason, the physics teacher walked around all proud and pleased with himself after that. And at the same time, I was having a crazy war in Among Us. Recently, a new player had appeared in the game. He was most often played as an imposter and was a really cool player. It was so hard to catch him. He staged crazy sabotages and killed all crew members. Everyone's goal was to catch him, but he was so good and often the victory went to the imposters. But when he played as a crew member, he so easily recognized the imposters. I was very interested to know who this player was. One day, it was announced that a teachers' meeting would start after the classes. To be honest, lately, they've been getting together more often. As soon as something happened, they were meeting. As I was thinking about it, I saw a physics teacher being brought in on a stretcher. I don't know what happened, but the number of teachers who have been on sick leave is going high. I walked to my class and saw how the history teacher was calming our math teacher. She sobbed and said this could no longer continue. It was necessary to change something. He stroked her head, and she kept insisting that everything was under attack and it was time to end it. It was strange to me, and I decided that it was time to act. So in the evening, I decided to attend the teacher's meeting. After class, I hid in the closet in the conference room and waited. What I learned was more than just the game. It was incredible. During the meeting, the principal began to call everyone not by names, but by nicknames. And I heard already these nicknames, or rather, saw them before. I saw them recently in Among Us, actually. And yes, that cool player was our principal. It was just incredible. That's what happened at school. How did I not immediately understand? This was a battle between the crew and the imposters. And they got together to vote to decide who was going to be who. And it also turns out that the team that wins would receive an award from the principal, and therefore, everyone was interested in the game. He praised everyone for the cool game and said that imposters were starting to act more decisively, but could be even bolder. The math teacher sobbed hearing this, but the principal told her that if she didn't want to participate, she could quit the job. But she couldn't. Her husband died, and she had 2 children, so she shook her head sharply and fell silent. Voting began. I was very interested in what would happen next, but suddenly I sneezed. That was the end. They knew where I was. However, the principal only laughed and sent me home, said that everything was fine. This was all an experiment of the ministry, and it was better not to tell anyone about it. I left in shock. I really wanted to tell someone, but I didn't know if it was worth it, or do I figure everything out first? What do you think? What would you do? The next morning, we had a PE class. The teacher said that today we would climb the rope, and I was the first to go. It was quite easy. I climbed onto the rope and climbed to the top, getting to the ceiling. I suddenly heard a pop and fell down. It was complete darkness. I don't remember anything else. I woke up in the hospital. My mother was next to me. She said that I had severe injuries, but now everything was over. What's over? I asked. Everything, my mother answered, and began to tell me that was happening at school. The whole city was already buzzing about it. It was strange that so many teachers ended up in the hospital. But when people went to check the school, our principal did everything so that it seemed like a coincidence. He had an impeccable reputation and very good reviews from his previous job, and therefore they believed him. Everything changed the morning I fell. That day, all the teachers went to the Ministry of Education, and the math teacher went to the previous school where the principal had worked. The police got involved and turned out that he was a gambling addict. He was obsessed with the game Among Us. But the virtual space wasn't enough. He wanted real victims and sensations. Turns out that he did the same things at his last work until one of the teachers was severely injured. A principal decided to fire him, but he blackmailed him into giving him good recommendations, and so he ended up at our school. And here, he forced everyone to participate in this, and even forged documents from the ministry. Some agreed because they believed the documents. Some wanted the prizes. Others were simply afraid, but everyone participated. While everything was happening only among the teachers, everyone tolerated it. But when a student was hurt, the teachers decided that the principal had gone mad and that they should protect the students. Everything became clear. The principal was fired, and he's under investigation now. It is possible that they will send him for treatment. I have to say, in the hospital for a while still. But I'm very glad that I was able to participate in a real-life game. And let me tell you, it's way cooler than the virtual ones. Or wait, just don't think that I'm as crazy as our principal. No, I don't want to get hurt and will continue to play online. But it was so cool. Sometimes it feels like whatever is going on is not real, but it happens. If you liked the video, then press the thumbs up button. And don't forget to subscribe.